I do DoorDash on the side to make ends meet. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills, and I get to make my own schedule. Most nights are boring. Drop off some fast food, pick up a few groceries, go home. Nothing ever really happens. Until last week. It was late, almost 1 a.m. I'd been out since about 9, and I was getting ready to call it a night. That's when the first order came through on my phone. Wawa. Small order, just a sandwich and a drink. The pay was decent for the distance, so I accepted it. The drop-off was in a part of town I didn't know super well. Not a bad area, just kind of old, residential, big trees, narrow streets, houses that looked like they'd been there since the 70s. I pulled up to the address and immediately noticed something off. It wasn't a normal house. It was this massive apartment-style building, 2 stories with stairs going up either side. But it clearly wasn't an apartment anymore. It had been converted into a single-family home. The delivery instructions said, "Leave at the door." Simple enough. I walked up, set the bag down, took the picture, and left. I didn't think anything of it. It was just another delivery. I got back in my car and started heading toward the nearest hotspot. That's when the second order came through. Taco Bell. Same pay, same distance, same address. I stared at my phone for a second. The same place? Both orders were small. Wawa and Taco Bell are literally 40 feet from each other. Why would someone order from both and pay double the delivery fee when they could just order everything from one place? My gut tightened, but I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe it was 2 different people in the same house, roommates, a couple. It happens. I picked up the Taco Bell order and drove back. This time, the instructions were different. "Hand it to me," it said, and then in the special notes section, "Come upstairs." I pulled up to the house again. The first time I was here, all the lights were off, pitch black. But now every single light in the house was on, bright, almost too bright. The curtains were drawn on all the windows, but I could see inside clearly. The vibe was just dark, wrong. I can't explain it any better than that. I grabbed the food and walked up the stairs. My footsteps echoed in the quiet. No cars on the street, no dogs barking, just me and that house. I knocked on the door and waited. Nothing. I could see inside through the curtain gap. The TV was on, but it was muted, just the glow of a screen with no sound. There was a candle burning on the end table. A phone was sitting there too, lit up and buzzing. I texted the customer. No response. I called. The phone on the end table lit up and buzzed again. That's when the hair on the back of my neck stood up. Something was wrong. I wasn't standing there for long, maybe 30 seconds total, but in that time I realized something. Nobody was coming to that door, not because they weren't home, because they weren't able to. I set the food down, took the picture, and turned around. I walked back to the stairs, trying not to look over my shoulder. I told myself I was just being dramatic. It was late, I was tired, my imagination was getting the best of me. Then I heard it. A man's voice, low and urgent, coming from inside the house. "Hurry up, she's leaving." I didn't stop to think. I slid down the last few steps, nearly tripping, and ran to my car. I got in, locked the doors, and sat there for a second, breathing hard. My hands were shaking. I looked up at the house, and there were 2 figures standing in the window on the second floor, looking down at me. Big guys, dark shapes against the light, just standing there, watching. And then I noticed something else. One of the downstairs doors was open. It hadn't been open before. It was wide open now, like someone had come out or gone in while I was upstairs. I fumbled with my keys, trying to start the car. I had to do a 3-point turn to get out because of the trees. Every second felt like an eternity. I kept looking at the door, expecting someone to come out. Nobody did, but they were still in the window, just watching. I sped away and didn't look back. I drove a few blocks before I pulled over and called DoorDash support. I told them everything: the double order, the change in instructions, the TV on mute, the phone buzzing, the voice, the man in the window, the open door. The woman on the phone was actually helpful. She said she'd mark the address as unsafe and block future deliveries to that location. She asked if I was okay and told me to contact the police if I felt threatened. I didn't call the police. What would I say? That I had a weird feeling about a delivery? That I heard a voice through a door? That I saw two guys standing in a window? But I know what I heard, and I know that phone wasn't answering because nobody could answer it. I haven't dashed that late since. I probably never will again. I'm always strapped when I'm out there, but if they were too, and outnumbered, I'd be screwed. I still think about that open door and the voice and the two figures standing in the window watching me drive away. I don't know what was going down in that house that night, but I know it wasn't good, and I know I'm never going back there. I started doing food delivery about 6 months ago, just something to make extra money on the weekends. Most of the time it's fine. You drop off the food, you move on, you forget about it. But there's one night I still think about, and I don't think I'll ever forget it. It was a Saturday night, around 11:30. I was on my last delivery before I was going to call it quits. The order came through, just some fast food from a local burger place, nothing unusual. The address was in a neighborhood I'd never been to before. Older houses, lots of trees, really dark streets. I remember thinking it was weird that there were barely any streetlights, like the whole area was just swallowed up by darkness. I followed my GPS to the address and pulled up to this house that looked abandoned. I'm not exaggerating. The grass was overgrown, there were boards on some of the windows, and the porch light was off. I double-checked the address on my phone and it matched, so I grabbed the food and walked up to the door. The porch creaked under my feet. It was one of those old wooden porches that felt like it was going to collapse any second. I knocked and waited. Nothing. I knocked again, harder this time. Still nothing. I was about to just leave the food and take a picture when I noticed the front door was slightly cracked open, just an inch or two, but enough to see inside. I called out, "Hello? Anyone home?" No answer. I could see a faint light coming from somewhere deeper in the house, like a TV was on in another room. I should have left right then, I know that now, but something made me push the door open just a little more. And that's when I heard it, a quiet sound coming from inside, almost like someone crying, not loud sobbing, more like muffled whimpering, like someone was trying to stay quiet but couldn't help it. My stomach dropped. Every instinct told me to back away and get in my car, but I couldn't move. I just stood there, frozen, listening to that sound. It was coming from somewhere down the hallway, past the living room, maybe from a back bedroom. I called out again, louder this time. "Is someone in there? Do you need help?" The crying stopped instantly. That was somehow worse than if it had continued. The silence that followed was heavy, like the whole house was holding its breath. I heard a floorboard creak somewhere inside, and then another one, closer this time. Someone was walking toward the door. I stepped back off the porch and onto the grass, my heart pounding in my chest. I could see a shadow moving in the darkness of the hallway, getting bigger as it approached the door. I thought about running, but my legs felt like they were made of concrete. The door swung open the rest of the way, and there stood a woman, maybe mid-30s, with disheveled hair and mascara running down her cheeks. She was holding her phone in one hand, the screen lit up like she had been looking at it. She stared at me for a second, and then her face changed from confusion to something else, relief maybe. She said, "Oh, thank God, you're the delivery driver. I thought you were someone else." I asked if she was okay, and she laughed, but it was a nervous laugh. She said she was fine, just watching a sad movie and got emotional, and that she forgot she ordered food. She apologized for not answering the door faster. It all sounded reasonable, but something still felt off. I handed her the food and she took it, but she didn't close the door. She just stood there looking at me with this strange expression, like she was trying to decide whether to say something. I told her to have a good night and started walking back to my car. That's when I heard her say, "Wait." I turned around and she was holding the door open wider now, looking past me into the street. She asked if I drove a blue sedan. I said, "Yes, that's mine. Why?" She didn't answer. She just kept staring at my car. Then she said, "There's someone in your back seat." I whipped around and looked at my car, but it was too dark to see anything. The interior lights were off and the windows were tinted. I couldn't tell if she was telling the truth or messing with me. I asked her what she meant and she repeated it, slower this time. "Someone is in your back seat." I took a few steps closer to my car, squinting through the darkness, and that's when I saw a shape in the back window. Just a silhouette, but it was definitely there. Someone was crouched down behind the driver's seat. My blood ran cold. I looked back at the woman, but she had already closed the door, and the lights inside her house were off, like she had disappeared. I was alone on that dark street with someone hiding in my car. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't get in. I couldn't drive away, and whoever was in there wasn't moving. They were just waiting. I pulled out my phone and pretended to be on a call, hoping whoever was in there would think someone was coming to help me. I started walking backward toward the street, keeping my eyes locked on the car. Then I heard the back door open, just a crack at first, and then wider. A figure stepped out, a man, tall and thin, wearing dark clothes and a baseball cap pulled low over his face. He didn't say anything, he just stood there looking at me. I screamed at him to stay back, and he raised his hand slowly, almost like he was mocking me, and said, "Relax, man, I was just looking for a place to crash." I told him to get away from my car, and he laughed, this low, dry laugh that didn't sound right. He said, "You left your door unlocked, that's on you." And then he started walking toward me, slow and deliberate, like he had all the time in the world. I took off running toward the nearest house and started banging on the door, screaming for help. The man didn't chase me, he just watched for a second and then walked off into the darkness between two houses. By the time someone opened the door, he was gone. I called the police, and they came and searched the area but found nothing. They told me to be more careful locking my car and left. I don't know who that man was or why he was in my car, but I'll never know if he was just some homeless guy looking for somewhere to sleep or if he was waiting for me to come back. What scares me the most is that he said my door was unlocked, but I know I locked it. I always lock it. So how did he get in? I've been delivering pizzas since I was 19. It's not a career, it's just something to pay the bills while I figure my life out. Most nights are forgettable. You hand over the food, you drive to the next stop, you go home. But every once in a while, something happens that sticks with you. I had that moment on a Sunday in July. I took an order for a house that was basically in the middle of nowhere, way out on the edge of the county where the streetlights stop and the trees take over. The house was completely dark, no lights, no porch light, nothing. It looked empty, but the order was prepaid with a 20% tip, so I wasn't about to complain. I grabbed the pizza and walked up to the door. The gravel crunched under my feet, and it was so quiet that every step felt like I was announcing myself to anyone who might be listening. I knocked and waited. Nothing. I knocked again, harder this time, and after about 30 seconds, I heard someone moving inside, slow and hesitant, like they didn't want me to know they were there. The door opened just a crack, maybe enough to see a sliver of someone's face,
and a woman's voice came through, quiet and out of breath. She said she wasn't home and asked me to just leave the pizza on the porch. That didn't make sense. She was clearly home, but I didn't argue. I set the food down and started walking back to my car. On my way back, I stopped by some bushes to take a leak. As I was standing there, I heard a noise, someone breathing nearby, close enough that I could feel it. I turned around, and there was a man crouched in the bushes, watching me, holding something in his hand.
I didn't wait to see what he was holding. I just ran. I sprinted back to my car, jumped in, and locked the doors. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely get the key in the ignition. I looked back at the bushes, but I couldn't see him anymore. He was gone, disappeared into the darkness like he was never there. I called the customer back, my voice shaking, and told her someone was hiding in her bushes. She went quiet for a second, and then she said something that made my blood run cold. She said, "I know. That's why I didn't open the door. That's why I told you to leave it on the porch." I asked her who he was, and she said it was her ex-boyfriend. He'd been stalking her for months, showing up at her house, leaving notes, calling her at all hours. She said she'd been hiding inside, hoping he would leave, and then she saw me pull up and thought maybe he would go away if I was there. But he didn't go away. He was still out there. I told her to call the police, and she said she already had, but they hadn't shown up yet. I asked if she wanted me to wait with her, and she said, "Yes, please, don't leave me alone." So I sat in my car with the doors locked and the engine running, watching the bushes, waiting for something to happen. About 10 minutes later, I saw headlights in the distance. Police finally showed up. 2 officers got out and started searching the area with flashlights. They found footprints leading into the woods, and a few feet into the tree line, they found a bag, a duffel bag, with rope, duct tape, and a knife inside. They never found the ex-boyfriend. The woman moved out a few days later. I never delivered to that house again. I still think about what would have happened if she had opened that door, or if I hadn't stopped to pee by those bushes. He was waiting for her, and I was just standing there in the middle of it. I don't deliver late anymore. I started doing Uber Eats about a year ago, just to make some extra cash on the side. I usually drive during dinner hours, nothing too late, but one night I decided to stay out past midnight to hit a promotion bonus. That was a mistake. Around 1:30 in the morning, I got an order for a house in an older part of town. Not a bad neighborhood, just old. Lots of big trees and houses set back from the road. The kind of street where the street lights are spaced out too far, and there's a lot of shadow between them. I pulled up to the address and noticed the house was set way back, almost hidden behind a row of overgrown hedges. The driveway was long and winding, lined with trees that arched over the top like a tunnel. I drove down it slowly, my headlights cutting through the dark, and when I got to the end, I saw the house. It was 2 stories, old, with a wraparound porch that looked like it hadn't been painted in decades. There was a single light on inside, 2nd floor, rightmost window. The rest of the house was dark. I grabbed the food and walked up to the porch. The steps creaked under my weight, and I could hear the wood shifting like it was about to give way. I knocked on the door and waited. Nothing. I knocked again, harder this time. Still nothing. I was about to leave the food and take a picture when I noticed something taped to the door. A piece of paper folded in half with my name written on it. Not the customer's name, my actual name, the one on my driver profile. I stared at it for a second, my brain not processing what I was seeing. I unfolded it and read it. It said, "Thanks for coming. I've been waiting for you." I'm standing there, heart pounding, trying to figure out what to do when I hear a thump from inside the house. Then another one, deeper in, like someone moving around. Not walking, more like dragging something. I freeze, keys in my hand,
not sure if I should run or stay. My brain is telling me to get the hell out of there, but my legs aren't listening. I start backing away toward my car, not turning around, just walking backwards, eyes fixed on the door. I make it to my car, get in, lock the doors, and sit there breathing heavy. I look up at the house one last time, and that's when I see the curtain on the second floor move, just a little, like someone was standing there watching me. I peeled out of that driveway so fast, didn't even care about the noise. I called Uber support from a gas station down the road, told them what happened. They said they'd flag the address and block it, but they couldn't tell me who placed the order because of privacy rules. I went home and didn't sleep at all that night. I kept thinking about that note. Why did they know my name? Was it someone I delivered to before? Did they follow me? I'll never know. I never went back to that house. But sometimes when I'm driving at night and I see a long driveway with trees on both sides, I get that same feeling, like someone's watching me.
Well, that was the last story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. And let me know you want more content like this. Also, drop a comment down below and let me know which story creeped you out the most. I love reading your thoughts. If you've got a true story of your own and you want to share it, send it in. You might see it in a future video. As always, stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.